everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Entrepreneurial Lunch and Learn offered by the Lawrence Enfield Center for Entrepreneurship at Baruch College. I'm Gary L. Smalls, the program coordinator of the Field Center. The Field Center for Entrepreneurship is a multifaceted division at the Baruch College, offering free services and programs for the entrepreneurial community. Today's Lunch and Learn webinar is presented by Amr Hijazi. Amr is the founder of the coaching business Amr Hijazi Coaching based in Canada. He offers dynamic, interactive sessions to support entrepreneurs with their journeys and assist companies with their efficiency. By to learn more about themselves, he sorts them food experience background as an international corporate lawyer for 10 years, supplements his skills to help his clients find balance, structure, and peace of mind. Thank you so much for being with us, Amr. Please feel free to tell our audience a little bit about yourself before you start your presentation.
Thank you so much, Gary, for this colorful introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Amr Hijazi. And actually, just before I dive into an introduction about myself, I want to do a very quick survey with you guys. Here we go. Can you see my slides, Gary? Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm gonna do a quick survey with you guys, and I'm gonna ask you to type in the chat which one of these categories are you. Type 1 if you have a business idea but you have not yet started. Type 2 if you have started the business but you're not generating revenue yet. Type 3 if you have your business set up and have been generating revenue. Or type 4 if you do not have a business or a business idea, but you're just curious and interested in the topic of entrepreneurial mindset. So this will really help me get a bit of a color on who's in the room, and also help you to see who's in the room with us. All right, so we have various ones, various twos, a few fours, a 3. Okay, so it's a bit of a colorful situation. Okay, so let me share a little bit about myself. My name is Amr Hijazi. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I'm currently an entrepreneur coach, and I have my coaching business. And I'm also a business owner of 2 businesses. One is a lead generation company, and we have clients spread out across almost more than 20 cities in Canada and the US. And another company that is basically that has a SaaS, a software as a solution, and provides call tracking services for people in marketing. And I wasn't always in these roles. My background, I'm actually originally from Jordan, and I used to be a corporate lawyer for 10 years, working between Jordan, Dubai, and London, until 2019, when I decided to quit law and move out from Jordan and come to Canada on a new adventure. And that's when the story begins. And today's topic is entrepreneurial mindset. And the entrepreneurial mindset is a topic that's very dear and close to my heart, because it's such a vital topic for all entrepreneurs. It's the thing that gives an entrepreneur perseverance, the passion, the desire, the creativity, the positivity to overcome obstacles, to like work on things until they happen. And from my work with clients, it's really the key thing that separates 2 entrepreneurs with similar skill set, with similar resources. And it's the thing that allows one of them to shine and to flourish and succeed with his business, while the other might just lose hope and call it quits. So it's a very important topic. And in today's session, I'll be sharing a little bit about my journey, and throughout the process, I'll be sharing with you the pillars of entrepreneurship, of entrepreneurial mindset as I give them out. And in the second half of the session, we'll be doing a bit of an exercise to have you tap into your own inner leader and inner powerful part that would help you enhance your entrepreneurial mindset. So this is kind of our agenda. So to kick things off, as I was mentioning earlier, I was a corporate lawyer and I moved out from Jordan to Canada to get on a new adventure and to find a way to pursue more of my passion. So I was seeking entrepreneurship in one way or another. And I found it in coaching and helping other people become the best versions of themselves, whether it's in life or in business. And I started doing coaching and I started to grow my practice as a coach organically from people who know me and so on. And later on, I realized that I didn't really become a very good entrepreneur. I just created another job for myself because what I realized that I'm still selling my time for my money. And if I get sick, I'm not getting paid, I'm not working. So basically, I just put myself from a state of a job where I do get basic leave and all of the privileges to a state where I have even more burden. But the thing is, I was enjoying it. But as an entrepreneur, I later realized the distinction between being an expert and being an owner. And I'm gonna show you this slide now in relation to that. And this is the first pillar in the entrepreneurial mindset. You would want to focus to becoming an owner rather than an expert. Now, an expert, they try to do, or like a person would try to do everything in the business himself, and the business would depend on him. While the owner builds a system that runs itself, and his business can carry on without him. And the easiest way to picture this is, for example, a person who is in a job who loves to bake, who's really good at baking. And he's constantly complaining about his job and he's sharing that with his friends and family. And his close ones tell him, you are really good at baking. How about you open up a bakery? And it's his passion. And he's like, you know what? That's a really good idea. I'm going to do that. He gets on with it. He opens up a bakery with the intention of baking because he loves to bake. But the thing that he doesn't realize is all of the other nuances that come with entrepreneurship and with setting up a business, whether it's the logistical element, whether it's the admin element, leading staff, creating recipes, creating manuals, taking care of marketing, taking care of sales, so many other nuances. And because he is in a mindset where I enjoy baking and I just want to bake. And all of these other tasks are just nuances. He's constantly dealing with them in a very dismissive way of, okay, I'm just going to try to find the easiest and best way to do them and throw them out of my mind to focus on baking. And what ends up happening is he's unable to properly build a system for his bakery. He's unable to delegate the need to work properly. And 2 years later, he's been working almost 16 hours a day. He's burnt out. He ends up being too tired and closes up the bakery. Now, on the other hand, if he had the owner mentality of, okay, I love baking, but I'm going to treat this as a business. I am going to set up recipes. I'm going to set up a way so that if I cannot be at the bakery, someone else might come in and just look at the manual, look at the instructions, follow them, and the business will still carry on. Having a set system, for example, for his bakery, what time it would open up or closes, to train the staff for his marketing. So it's all about building that system that can function without him. So in relation to all of you here, for people who either have an idea, for those of you who have a business idea and they're thinking of setting it out, I would encourage you to, even before setting up the business, to think of your place in that business. Like picture yourself. Will you be spending all of your time in that business, or will you start maybe in a little bit in advance, thinking of a way to set up a system for that business and create roles in that business that you can then plug yourself in. So in the case of the bakery, you can set up the system for the bakery and then plug yourself in as the baker, knowing that at any time you can move out and someone else to replace you. If you're already ahead in the business and you already have a business, whether you're generating revenue or not, and you don't have that in place, it might be a good time for you to think about setting up a system for your business and be able to plug yourself out. Um, and I think the best way to think about it is to set up your business as if you're going to sell it. You might not want to sell it. It might become your baby and it will stay your baby for life. You might retire as a result of it. But if you think about your business as something that you might want to sell later on, you will set it up in that manner. So this is in relation to pillar one, be an owner, not an expert. And that takes me back to my journey. Yes, so I was I was coaching and I had been enjoying coaching. So even though I didn't really realize those attributes of thinking like an owner, I was still enjoying the coaching. It was and it has still has sorry, it was and it still is a genuine passion of mine. I didn't really mind all of the nuances of the hassle until 2 years later when I met my fiance and we were talking about our vision for the future and what we want. And we realized that we want to have geographical and financial freedom. And we also realized that a, a main key for us to do that is to have businesses that can run on their own. And that's when I realized that actually what I've been doing, I was just being in an expert mode. I didn't really have uh, a business that can run on its own. So we decided to create businesses together. I like to try out creating the businesses together. And I think for a period of 4 to 5 months, we tried out almost 15 different business models and projects. And it was grueling because we were pouring all of our heart out and we were constantly meeting failure after failure, some successes here and there. But at the end of the day, either the project would fail or we wouldn't resonate with it. And throughout the whole process, it was draining. And at some points in time, I was like, man, why am I doing this? Why not just like get back to my coaching business and focus on that? But what kept me going was that vision, that personal vision of mine of financial freedom and geographical freedom. And this takes me to pillar number two, which is go having a strong personal vision behind your business is key. It's basically what will give you fire. It's the thing that will allow you to stay on the path, to overcome obstacles when you face them, because you will face them. And as an entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs, they fail time after time after time until they reach that one business idea or project that's actually working and generating revenue like they want. That's not to say that um, there's zero chance for a person to succeed from attempt number one. But as statistics, usually it takes a few tries. And I know an entrepreneur who tried out 30 different businesses across 3 years until he found one that ultimately started to generate almost 7 figures each year. So he only needed one, and he persevered throughout those 3 years in order to reach it. And like he told me, if I didn't have my vision of taking care of my family and creating that generational wealth for them, I would have stopped. So this is my suggestion to you to tap into that strong personal vision behind your business. And you can ask yourself this question: what do I want to personally gain from my business after the business is done and set? And like, what's my dream once my business is flourishing? And actually, we will tap a little bit more into that in the exercise that we'll be doing after explaining these pillars. So stay tuned. But this is the key thing: having that personal vision. And it also reminds me of Thomas Edison, basically, when I think he failed 1,000 times and eventually he succeeded. And when he was asked, "Oh, you failed 1,000 times," he was like, "No, I found 999 ways that doesn't work, and I found the one that works." It was all because of his vision, or at least this is my thought. So this is pillar number two, having that vision. And back to my journey, we set up all of these businesses, and ultimately we did find our first holy grail in the form of a lead generation company. We came upon a lead generation business model that resonated with us. It granted us um, the ability to do our work remotely. It ticked all of the boxes that we had in mind as a business, and we started pursuing it. Now, while pursuing this business, it was more technical and it was a little bit different from the coaching work that I had been doing, and also from my my profession as a lawyer in the past. It was more technical. It had different tasks and so on, and it bubbled up new fears and new limiting beliefs in me. So like I was coming face to face with them. Things similar to, for example, doing cold calling and having to pick up the phone and call a complete stranger to try to sell them something. In all honesty, I had not done that thing in my life before that moment. So it was a big stretch for me to be doing that. And I was constantly, before doing my first call, um, I was constantly bombarded by thoughts such as, oh, what if they say no? What if they hang up on you? What if you waste their time? What if they think you're a fraud, or they search your business and they try to ruin you? Like basically, my mind was taking me to the worst extreme scenarios out there. But those were the scenarios that were there. So until I was able to calm it down, to switch my brain from these kind of negative worst case scenario thoughts into the positive potential of, okay, what if I call them and they have actually been waiting for me to call because they need my service? I'm a lead generation business. I'll be bringing them customers. What if they're out of work and they've been waiting for someone to bring them work to feed their families? What if we have a great connection? What if I learn this skill and develop as a person as well? So I started thinking from that positive, opportunistic part and just seeing the gift in this whole situation. And that helped me shift my mindset from, oh, no, I don't want to do the call, to, okay, I'm going to try it out. And to be honest, it took me a whole day of bringing up my energy before I did the first call. And when I did it, what happened was the person on the other end of the line heard me, told me, thank you, I'm not interested, and hung up. So that was kind of my worst fear. And it happened, and I survived. So I'm like, all right, that's not too bad. And then that made the process a little bit easier. So this takes me to pillar number 3 around limiting beliefs and fears. Eyes open. Here we go. During your entrepreneurial journey, you will face fears. You will face your own limiting beliefs. You will face thoughts that are along the lines of, who am I to do this? Or thoughts that encourage you to procrastinate or to be a perfectionist. Oh, I don't want to send it out because it's not perfect. Oh, what if they judge me? What if? As part of anyone's journey, our mind brings out these thoughts in an attempt to protect us, to protect us and to keep us safe. But our role as entrepreneurs, we would want to listen to to these thoughts, but then switch away and remind ourselves of the potential positive outcomes that might come out if we actually pursue the thing that we're seeking. So this is my invitation to you, which is basically, if you face fears, or if you face limiting beliefs, or if there is a specific task that you're facing that you're facing resistance with, to acknowledge it, sit with it, and acknowledge the fears or the limiting beliefs that are coming out, and try to understand what they are, and then switching to the inner leader, which, by the way, we'll be going into the exercise after this one, and to appreciate what like the thoughts that are coming up and start viewing them differently. So, for example, instead of seeing failures as bad, you can see failures as learning. Instead of seeing, oh, rejection is the end of the world, you can see rejection as redirection. Instead of asking, oh, who am I to succeed, you can say, well, if someone else did it, why can't I do it? So this is pillar number 3 of questioning and challenging your fears and limiting beliefs as they come up with potential positive outcomes. So back to my story, basically. We carried on with the business and we started working on it. And fortunately, we started gaining success and gaining clients in different places. Until one point in time, after a few months, when we decided to scale, we were like, all right, let's have a conversation on how we can scale our business. And when we started that conversation, we started it with, okay, how can we double our number of our clients in the next 2 months? And we started thinking about what we're doing, how we can make it a little bit faster, how we can use this tool or that tool. But then I put my coaching hat on and I raised the question, okay, how can we 100x the number of our clients in 1 month? And that really shifted the conversation between us. That had us almost throw everything that we were talking about down the drain and start thinking of new mechanisms, of new potential approaches, of things that we didn't really think about to apply into our business. Things that we thought are very rigid, we figured out that, oh, actually we can automate these. We can use AI was just about coming out, but like we can use tools similar to AI to automate our tasks to make our lives easier. We can actually hire more staff and delegate to them these specific tasks that we were taking on. So just that way of thought of switching from like average thinking to thinking big changed our line of thought and the way we're looking at our business and our planning in particular, which leads me to the pillar number 4, which is around starting with the end in mind, thinking big and planning accordingly. And actually, I'm gonna do a bit of a live test with you guys. So right now, if I ask you, by the end of the month, I challenge you to gain $100,000 in revenue. As I ask this question, in 1 month, I want you to gain $100,000 in revenue. What thoughts come up? Are you saying, it's possible, it's difficult, it's challenging? Are you getting any ideas of how you can do it? Is it a stretch? Is it not a stretch? And now if I ask you, if in a month's time, if you gain $100,000 in revenue, I will give you $1 billion an incentive. What changes now? Is it more possible? Can you think of other ways or think a little bit outside of the box to gain that $100,000? So this is just an example of how, and if you didn't notice any difference, that's completely okay, by the way. But typically, just this different shift in thought and growing the scale of your vision can create a different way of thought for your business and for your venture. So in this example in front of us, like an average thinker might think, oh, how can I make an extra 5K a month? Now, a big thinker might think, how can I help 1 million people become a millionaire, retire myself and my family in 10 years, and create generational wealth? Now, not everyone necessarily may want to have this thought, and you might want to have different approaches, different types of thought. But just thinking from this perspective of how can I reach the 1 million people and become a millionaire in 10 years will trigger you to think about things differently and set up different priorities and tackle things differently. So this is my encouragement to you to think big with the end in mind. And this doesn't only apply for big strategy for your business. It can also apply to the small, maybe even kind of like day-to-day pieces of the business where you're setting up the mechanism and the processes for your business. So um, you can just apply it on any problem that you're facing and try to think big to gain the opportunity and the gift from the situation instead of being bogged down and consumed by it. So these are basically the 4 pillars that I have shared with you today. four main pillars. A suggestion and encouragement for you to think like an owner, not an expert, to have a strong personal vision behind your business, to question your fears and limiting beliefs, and then challenge them with potential positive outcomes, and then to try to always start with the end in mind. Think big and plan accordingly. And I think it can be easy for me to sit on this chair behind the screen and preach this to you guys. And actually, probably you might even know some of these, know some of them or all of them. But talk is easy, and while action is all different place. So with these pillars in mind, there is also a missing factor of the inner leader, that inner part in yourself that would fuel you and bring out the desire to keep these in mind and actually apply them. And this is what I call the leader within, that part in each of us that is creative, that is wise, that's powerful, that is empathetic, that knows what needs to be done because you already know so much. And even if you don't necessarily have a skill to perform a task, that part will know that I need that skill, so let's pursue it, rather than not know that not even know or acknowledge that you need that skill. So with this in mind, right now we're going to do a bit of an interactive exercise. So I'm gonna ask each of you if you're in I think we're good on time. If you're in a safe place where you can close your eyes, as part of the exercise in a little bit, I will ask you to close your eyes to go through a visualization with me. And I will be giving you prompts and questions to ask yourself. You don't have to take notes or anything of the sort. I'll just want you to be very present with the session. And if you're in a place where you cannot close your eyes, if for whatever reason, just try to listen intently to the prompts and try to resonate with them and see what comes up. So everything will be okay. Whatever you see, whatever you think, whatever you feel, it's all going to be okay. Just go with the flow and go with the prompts. So I'm actually going to also invite you to stand up if you have room to do so. And I'm going to stand up myself. Let me take this off. Okay. So I invite you to stand up, or if you don't want to stand up, just stay seated. Maybe move your body a little bit, move your shoulders, stretch yourself a little bit, get comfy. And when you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, just relax your body. Notice if there is any tension. Spread some relaxing energy towards that place. Now I want you to imagine your future self. I want you to know that within each of us, again, there is a place that is creative, that is wise, that is patient, empathetic, connected. It's a place that is powerful, that knows what needs to be done, that has a vision and wants the best for you. Regardless of whatever anyone has ever told you, we each have that within us. And you're about to get connected to it or enhance your connection to it. So with that in mind, I want you to imagine your future self. A future version of yourself in the future where you have succeeded in your business, where you have the success that you've been seeking. It can be 2 years from now, 5, 10, 20. I want you to picture yourself having succeeded, having made it with those attributes that I mentioned in mind. And I want you to observe, what do you notice about this version of yourself? What's the priorities of this version of yourself? I'm going to call it the inner leader from now on. So this inner leader, how is it acting in your mind's eye? How is it standing or sitting? Now I want you to look around in this vision. What do you see around your inner leader? What's the setting? Are you in an office or in nature or at home? Where do you see yourself? Who's around you? If there's a team around you, how are you interacting with them? Now I want you to come face to face with the inner leader and have a bit of a conversation with that inner leader. And I want you to ask the first question, which is, what do I need to know about you? How did you get here? How did you achieve your success? What did you have to prioritize to achieve the success? What are learnings that you want to give me that would help me in my journey? And now we're going to play a little bit with this scenario. And I want to ask your inner leader, how can I get to where you are in half the time? How can I get there in a quarter of the time? This is just a way to try to challenge your thought, basically. You can also ask, how can I get there in 1/10 of the time? And as a last question, you can ask, how can I get connected with you again? And when you're ready, I invite you to sit back down if you were standing up, or get more relaxed. And typically I would give a few seconds for when I do this exercise with my clients, I typically give them a few more seconds to journal a little bit. So you can take notes of this. But with this experience in mind, this has been a very vital exercise for almost all of my clients. Almost 50% of my work with my clients is focused on this piece of the entrepreneurial mindset, connecting with that inner powerful self and connecting with that positive visionary part of us. Because that's our fuel. Again, as entrepreneurs, you are going through a long, tiring journey. So unless you have a place within you to tap into to get that power, it can be very tempting to just let go and quit and go back to the old habits. So with these exercises in mind, let me just share my final slide. With this exercise in mind, and by the way, even if you didn't see anything or feel anything, that's completely okay. That's completely normal. Some people might need a little bit of practice or might want to do it a few more times before they get connected to that place. But know that it is part of every single one of us. So I would urge you, like I would recommend if you didn't really see anything or feel anything, maybe to rewatch this video or to try it out on your own later on. But while being connected to this part and while keeping the entrepreneurial pillars in mind, I believe that you will be edging away from that entrepreneur that will be quitting and edging ever closer to that entrepreneur who will be very, very brave, very perseverant, and relentless to pursue his ventures until you succeed. So good luck with your ventures. And in the end, I'm just going to leave you with a few resources in case you're interested. Um, so these three books have been highly influential in my journey. The Unfair Advantage is very helpful for a person who is about maybe to go into business or is early in their business, because it really shows the person how to lean in on their uniqueness, on their unfair advantage, on their whatever their upbringing was, their circumstances, their community. So it's a really cool book to start. Then the E-Myth is about the systems and how once you have a business, or even maybe before setting up the business, how you can set up a system for that business so that you can separate yourself from it and become an owner rather than an expert. And then lastly, Think and Grow Rich. It's a bit of a classic, but this really dives into the piece around the vision and the desire and thinking big. So it's also one of my favorites. And I also have like a recommendation for a business operations manual template. This is basically a business operations manual template that was developed by my wife, who's also my business partner. And this is the exact manual that we use for our businesses when we set them up. So if you're interested, you can check it out. And if you want to connect, I'm available on LinkedIn or by email. I love getting connected with people, so please feel free to reach out and get connected. Um and yeah, good luck with your journey.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. That exercise was good. That exercise was so good, right? And I see some people actually saying that in the chat right now. So time for Q&A. So we really, really, really enjoy this part. Gives our participants an opportunity to ask some of those questions that might have been sparked while you were talking, while you were sharing. So we definitely like to give a couple minutes. So when you talked about I love the pillars, by the way. The pillars are awesome. And it really gave you and gave me an opportunity to kind of be present. And I think sometimes in the midst of being busy, we don't take enough time to be present and to think through or think about and visualize. And I think visualization was really, really helpful for me when I ran the New York City Marathon, right? I saw myself finishing before I finished. And so I know you said if you don't see anything now, or to continuous practice with the visualization process, how often would you recommend doing the visualization process?
So every person is different. Uh, Depending on your schedule, you might want to do it every day, to be honest, just to get connected to that place. But if you get connected immediately, then you're able to tap into that powerful place and to tap into that inner leader, and maybe keep a reminder for yourself of that place and of that feeling. Maybe have an accessory on you or like a picture just to remind you of the physicality and that place that would allow you to get some power when things are getting a little bit more difficult. So it depends on the person, but more or less do it as often as you feel you need it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think in just in this short time, it was very, very powerful for myself, and for, I'm looking at the chat, for those who actually did it. So one of the other questions in the chat is, do you see yourself building another business in the near future?
Absolutely. I'm becoming addicted to building businesses, to be honest. Uh, Even after building the lead generation company, we're constantly trying new things. Most recently, we're building up the SaaS company, and I'm just launching it actually. So this is my second business. But the key thing that we are focusing on is automation, and ultimately reaching a point with every business where we have a system in place between our staff or our processes. The system is there. It can run with very little input from us. That would give us time to either move on to something else or just think of a bigger vision for the project itself.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm gonna skip around the pillars a little bit, because I think pillar 3, where it talks about your fears and limiting beliefs. You and I actually were having a conversation about this before we went live, about an experience I had. And I think it's so powerful because a lot of times we see it with our students, or even with ourselves, we count ourselves out before we even put our hat into the race. So as you continue to think about that particular pillar, how did you develop that pillar, or what made you identify that as a necessary pillar in this process?
I think from two elements. One has been myself experiencing experiencing the journey of first coming into a new country and starting my coaching business, and then the lead generation company. It was really highlighted during my lead generation company. I felt the resistance, and I started hearing all of those fears, like fear of rejection was very powerful for me, and the perfectionist. That voice that kept on telling me, no, you cannot send this, no, you cannot put this out, it needs to be perfect, otherwise you will be judged. Those two in particular were really strong in me. So until I was able to overcome them, um, I was basically holding myself back. So first, it's me, myself, realizing their importance, and also working with my clients. Having developed, as I became more of an entrepreneur, I onboarded more entrepreneur clients, and they're always dealing with very similar fears or limiting beliefs, regardless of their nature. It can be like the victim mode or the perfectionist or super analytical and not having any empathy with others. So there is always something like a bit of a limiting belief that had served us when we were kids as like a safety mechanism, but it's no longer serving us now as adults, especially in business. So this is where it's coming from.
Awesome, awesome. And automation came up a lot in what you were talking about, and especially with pillar number 1, right? Going from being an owner, instead of an expert, right? Because we notice, and even you notice as well, that sometimes you spend so much time in your business that you don't work on your business, right? And a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs who are starting things from ground up, spend a lot of time in it and not on it. So they're good at baking the cakes, they're good at doing the thing, But when it comes to things like bookkeeping and marketing and all the things that help this business run, they're a little those things kind of they fall on the wayside. So one of the questions in the chat was, how many staff members does a business need to become fully automated?
That's a really good question. And the answer to that, it depends on the business at the end of the day. Depends on the business that you're pursuing and which sector it is. Especially now in this day and age with AI, you can potentially set up a business that's a software, and just have maybe 3 members of staff, one to take care of the community, another to take care of the tech support, and a third member to take care of the finance and other admin parts. So it can be as little as 3 potentially, or it can be in the tens or hundreds if it's bigger, or it's like you're trying to expand, especially if you want to expand, if it's like it relates to a physical product and you want to expand to different cities and so on. So it really depends on the business itself. But what I would say is to focus on what you ultimately want from the business, and to assess its needs accordingly, rather than thinking, oh, I think 10 people will be a good number to make my business fully automated. Think, what are the components of your business, and then figure out what needs to be plugged in to fulfill these components, whether it's AI or software or a person.
Awesome. Awesome. So the answer is it depends, right? For all
It
those
depends. And
who might have had
depends in
that
all
question,
honesty. Yeah.
it depends, right? There's really no one size fits all for that particular question. So thank you for that answer as well. As you going back to the pillars, which I thought was so awesome, right? Starting with the end in mind, think big and plan accordingly, right? So when I hear that, I think about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think about Stephen Covey, right? Begin with the end in mind and thinking big and planning accordingly. What do you think are some of the things that prevent people from allowing themselves to think big, to be able to think outside of what might have been their family history or their own personal history? What do you think prevents people from even allowing themselves to dream? Because it doesn't cost anything to dream, but yet some of us don't allow ourselves to. Where do you think that comes from?
Um, Sometimes that's a good question, by the way. Um, and many times we get kind of sucked into the environment that's around us. So when we're in an environment that is constantly talking about a specific topic, we do not have room to explore anything beyond that topic. So our dreams become kind of relative to that environment. So first of all, environment. If we're in an environment of similar or like-minded people, we're surrounding ourselves with a community of entrepreneurs who are constantly dreaming big, that would trigger us to think big. But when we are not exposed in the first place to the potential of us thinking big, it might not even cross our mind that it's even possible. So one is environment. A second thing potentially can be time. Like sometimes we're just in the hustle of the day, just moving from one thing to another. We don't even have time for ourselves. So until we make a conscious decision that I need to make a major shift in my life or in my business, or just I just need to make a major shift in whatever, until we make that conscious decision and to decide to allocate ourselves specific amount of time to actually think about our vision and allow ourselves to dream big, sometimes we just neglect it, and we think we don't even think about it. So I think the key thing is us not being aware about the ability to um, think big in the first place. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes, it does, right? Environment, right? We always talk about the difference between in the relationship between nature and nurture, right? And nurture definitely plays a part in, and someone actually put it in the chat as well, cultural differences, right? There's some countries that's very individualistic, where others are more mindful of community and legacy and not as individual. So that can also play a part in how you think about dreams and yourself. And really play a role in that big picture thinking. So yes, cultural difference in environment. We have a question that is pointed towards actually. So this question is pointed towards someone who seems like they may have are close to starting or maybe want to start. And the question is, how would you recommend us to find ways to raise capital in the funds needed to get started?
I think this has various angles to it. So I think it starts with the business itself. Like ideally, when you want to start a business, ideally you want to have found a customer who wants to buy what you want to sell, even before you start thinking of setting up the business. Now, if you found someone, ideally, if you found someone who believes in you, they might be willing to fund you or to maybe come in as a shareholder. That's like the ideal world. If you have maybe a close relative or someone who potentially might need that service and believes in you, they might be the first person who might fund. Another way might be like I think you all might be aware of like uh, institutes that might give funding and capital for projects to be set up. Um, but you can always try to bootstrap the project yourself. And if you think that you need capital, think about what do I need capital for? And is there a way for me to gain what, like the things that I need capital for in a cheaper way or through outsourcing that would not cost as highly as the typical way? Or is there again, I keep on talking about AI because it's up and coming. Maybe there's a tool out there that will facilitate the process. So if you do not have the capital and you're struggling to find people to give you capital and you're very, very determined to do the project, first of all, I believe in you that you will find a way. And the second, I would suggest you try to challenge yourself in thinking of different ways to try to either do the business or to find capital anyway.
Right. So hopefully that answered your question. Right. Thank you for that question. Yeah, we appreciate that question.
I think I might have seen a question of how did you raise funds for your first business venture? We bootstrapped it basically. Like and bootstrapping means just pouring in our own from our own pockets, and we try to be as efficient as possible. So we only I think how much did we put in at first? Like we started it maybe with 2K, and we poured all of our time and energy into it. So you can pour something other than money into your business that would make it work and flourish.
That's a great point because I think because we live in a world with a lot of, and we also prepare and give our students access to pitch competitions and ideas competitions, great ways to get funding for your ideas. But sometimes nothing beats you just taking the money that you've earning and investing into your own business. And some venture capitalists and other investors actually want to see, are you putting your own funds in your own business before they decide to give you anything? Because they're like, hey, do you have any skin in the game, or are you expecting us to take all the risk? So nothing, bootstrapping, don't be afraid of bootstrapping. And we actually had a workshop on bootstrapping last semester. So yeah, we did. So bootstrapping it's definitely on point. As we come to the end, as we come 129, what are any parting words? We have, as you can see, we have a diverse group as people selected 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have a diverse group of individuals on this call. Any parting words you would like to share with them before we leave?
Beyond what I already said, it's just a matter of think big, and you can do it. You will fail, you will make mistakes, so just do them as quickly as possible. And get back up. Every time you fail, get back up and face the day.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for being with us, Amr. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram. Please feel free to follow us on YouTube. I want to thank you again for being with us and presenting. Thank you all for participating with us as well. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email with today's recording. And we hope to see you next month on Zoom for our Lunch and Learn on November 1st. And that's going to be entitled From Incarcerated to Entrepreneur. Have a great day. See you guys at the next one.